you too, Guy.
I heard you know what he's coming. Your turn is coming.
Okay, we call the meeting to order. This is the Committee of the Whole of April the 30th. We'd like to welcome people in the audience. It's good to have somebody out there. Always nice. Approval of agenda is next item on the agenda.
I have something to add to the agenda.
Okay.
So I guess that'd be 6K or whatnot. I'd like to add that council look into making another committee, basically a small committee that would be used to make sure the correct spelling of road signs in the municipality of Argyle.
Okay. 6. Okay.
Correct.
I think, yeah, okay. We discussed that later on. We'll add that to the agenda. Anything else?
One other item, it's not, Mr. Warden, just under 5, financial report.
Yes.
There's actually going to be a decision to be asked of council after that presentation that relates to approval of transfers to reserves.
Oh, okay.
So a decision will actually come out of the financial report.
5A or?
5A is fine.
Yeah, okay.
Just call it transfer to reserves.
Transfer.
Authorization.
Okay. Anything else? Anybody else have
So moved to
anything to
accept the
add?
agenda as presented.
Amended. Okay, you have a motion to approve the agenda. As amended, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Does anybody around the table have a conflict of interest with any of the items on the agenda? If not, we'll go on to next item is presentation, and we have a youth engagement project. Brenda, LaGrandeur, Scott Muise, and Chris Frotten name here. Don't all speak at once.
We're doing this tag team style, so I'm going to start, and then my colleagues will come in.
Okay, good. Thank you.
This is a project that you guys would have seen a little bit about in the CAO report. We've been reporting on it for a little while now. I just want to tell you a bit about how this project came about. The strategic plan has a line item in it, the original strategic plan, the one that we developed with, I don't remember his name. Jack Novak.
Jack Novak.
It's like the whisperer. And the line item said, how do we grow and sustain our population and bring back our youth into the community to work and live? So the first thing we started doing was thinking up how to do that. We thought of ideas and what projects could we do to do that. In the meantime, I attended an economic forum in Yarmouth that was organized by Kathleen D'Entremont-Mooney. And at that forum, they had people presenting their opinions on how the economy impacted them. So we heard from single parents, we heard from the business community, we heard from a big variety of people. But the one that really struck me was the students. There were some students that were there, and they were talking about how the economy impacted them. And at the end, we were asked, they were asked, how did they get impacted? How did they hear about items? Did it impact their families, that sort of thing? And so the questions were flying back and forth, and there was one student on the stage, and he said, I can't believe you guys are interested in hearing what we have to say. He said, we talk about this all the time. Nobody ever asks us. And it was like a light bulb. So he came back to the office and started talking with Chris and Scott and realized that we were dreaming up ideas of how to do this without speaking to the students the youth that we were potentially trying to engage. So we decided that we would start this by going into the schools. We're going to talk about what we did, how we did it, but it was mostly about learning from them. We didn't go in with, this is what we're going to do for you. It was kind of what what can you tell us? Can you help us learn? So Scott is going to give you the next part of the story.
So basically what we decided was we were going to look at, we tried to decide which age group we wanted to start with, and we decided that grade 11 would be a good place to start. We'd follow them through grade 11, through grade 12, and within their first year university, and still keep the same teams. So what we did is we contacted each of the principals at each of the three schools, Paraba, Drumlin, and Yarmouth High. And what we asked them for cross-section. We didn't want student council. We didn't want straight A's. We wanted them from every economic background, from different areas, different locations. And we definitely got that. We actually asked them, I said, so why do you think you were picked? Why do you think you were chosen? We get everything from I like to talk to they may think that I'm at risk, what you would call an at-risk youth. And these kids, these teens are sharp. So what we did is we ended up going in, and our first one, because of the strategic plan, kind of focused on jobs and how to get them back, so bring back youth in the community to work and live. So the first meeting was kind of to break down that wall, to get them comfortable with talking with us. So we decided to go with the avenue of jobs. So do you have a job? How hard is it for you to find a job? What about summer jobs? One of the things that was interesting there is that we would ask them, how did you get your job? Did you have to apply? Did you have an interview process? No, it was pretty much someone I knew. I think one out of all the team. We had 3 groups of 6 altogether. How many were there? 18-ish? And one had applied and did an interview process. The rest was, oh, mom knew somebody, or I knew someone through the family. So that was interesting, because all those jobs that are out there that all of a sudden people are saying around here that there are no jobs, well, those jobs never got to the public. Those jobs were never advertised. They were snatched up internally already, right? Out west, first question we asked, do you know anybody that's moved out west? We expected this to be a long, long conversation. There was a couple that said, I knew somebody that went out. There was one that said, my mom wants to go, but I don't want to. But it wasn't a huge thing that we thought it was going to be. We asked them about plans for the future. Where do they see themselves in 10 years? Is it here? What do they see themselves doing? And are they lining themselves up to meet those goals? Access to resources. So that would have been, okay, so let's say you wanted to be an engineer. Do you know who to ask? Let's say you wanted tools to help you during job interviews. Do you know who to ask? And that wasn't, I mean, when I was in high school, it would be go to your guidance counselor. It's different now. It's not as easy as we thought it would be. Now this one, what do you consider your community? So we asked this to each Paraba, Drumlin, and Yarmouth. So when we would ask this to the students at Paraba and the students at Drumlin, they would all include Yarmouth. So yeah, my community is, if I live in Wedgeport, yes, but also Yarmouth. I go into Yarmouth all the time. When we asked the Yarmouth High students, would you consider Argyle, Wedgeport, Pubnico to be part of your community? No. It's very interesting. Like it's because we're so used to doing the 15, 20-minute, half-an-hour drive to go to the movies, but Tuscott is way out there for some of these teens that are in Yarmouth. They wouldn't take the 10 minutes because there's nothing to bring them this way. They don't necessarily have to come this way, where all the rest of them, part of their life is in Yarmouth. So that was the first one. We just got them talking, and they talked a lot. Like we went in the lunch, the period before lunch, and then we brought in pizza and subs for them to eat. And some of them talked until the next bell for the next one. I mean, one of the ones, and this one stood up for Brenda, was it just feels good to get the words out. Like these teens love to talk about this stuff. Like it was very, very interesting. So the second one, we decided, what are we going to do? Because what we want to do, we want to tie, because they know we're from the municipality, but we want to tie them together with you guys. And not only that, but for Yarmouth, with the councils there as well. So we sat down, we started chatting. And you guys are in the middle of doing your council priorities, right? So what is it that you guys felt were top 3 as a council? So what we decided is we would ask them, what are your priorities as youth? So, I mean, Huts Transit in Yarmouth, that was something that was in the news for a while. So we wanted to know, have you been consulted in this type of stuff? So are they being engaged with these issues that are popping up in Vanguard all the time? Do the priorities of youth line up? So when it would have been interesting, we wanted to line up, see what are the ones that they came back with, and do they line up with what council priorities are saying? So what we did is we did an exercise, and Chris will go through, we've got the top priorities from each school, but what we did is we did an exercise where we handed them out each sheet, each individual. Said write down your top 3. We wrote down all those on Bristol boards, and then we gave them stickers. Say, so put your top 3 out of all the ones that we've got. So out of the 18 priorities that you would have received from each individual, put which ones that you feel are the most important. And these are the ones they came up with.
So the first one we're going to go through is the ones that we found at Paramba. So like Scott explained, they put all of their stickers, and after we tabulated all of their priorities together, we came up with these top 5 priorities from Paramba schools. So the first one was fitness and recreation areas. They felt like that was their most important. Student employment, events and festivals, youth programs, and school food options. That one you'll see comes up quite often. So this just gives you an idea of, through our conversations, what they felt was their priorities if they were council, I guess. So the next ones that we have are the priorities from Drumlin. Their priorities were doctors in the area, a skateboard shop. Actually, that was what more than one of them thought. Community events was important. Recreation and sport in general, and marketing for the lobster industry. And the last priorities that we got was from Yarmouth High, and their priorities was restoration of a ferry, so transportation, jobs for youth and adults, make Yarmouth a priority. So they felt that Yarmouth didn't have maybe a reputation that they felt that they liked, so they thought that maybe they should try to make it a bit better. More youth involvement, so that was just in general. It could have been volunteering, could have been in organizations, it could have been in anything, and recreation centers and social areas as well. So I guess for me personally also, I was trying to find a way to link our sessions with these youth and councils that we're going to present to, because in the end, we'd like to try to merge them both together in some way or another. And one thing that we actually did that was quite interesting is we went and researched all of your top priorities that you said during your election campaign, and also all of the top priorities of the other councils during their election campaigns. And we compared them to what these youth prioritize. And some of them do match up, but some of them absolutely don't. So we wanted to try to give you that perception of how they think and how sometimes you guys think as a group here, and all councils think as a group at the table. So for us, it was really interesting to see some of them, like especially the recreation ones and the skateboard shops and all the ones that we don't think of, maybe because we're not in there. But I guess it was interesting just to see what they had and prioritized as a group.
So one of the things that we wanted to do next is there's a couple things that came out of the conversations. One of the things that came out was in grade 9, we would do job shadows for a day. In grade 9, I have no idea what I want to do when I grow up. So now would be the time to find somebody. So we decided that we would get together and try to line up who they wanted to be with as part of a job shadow in grade 11. Part of that process was asking them their top 3. And so right now we're going through, and next week we're going to have anywhere from 16 to 18 of these teens are going to be out there job shadowing someone a day out of school. And the schools were okay with this. That they'll go, so some anywhere from policemen to someone who's going to McNichol's, DFO, Matthew Muise with the physiotherapy, he's going to take one. So it's all over, not only our municipality, but all over the town as well. So that'll be happening next week. And on June 7th, what we're going to do is we want to bring all the students together. They haven't met each other. And they're always asking about each other. What did they say in Drumlin? What did they say at Yarmouth? So we're going to get them together as a group. And there's a thing called personality dimensions. We did it here as a staff. Basically, it lets you know what type of person you are. So if you're an organizer, if you're a planner, and not only that, but what kind of jobs that lines you up with. And it also tells you who you don't get along with. So it's that type of thing that might give them, again, going back to the resources, that this might actually put them there. And also, and one of the things Brenda will kind of talk about is we want to connect councils to this, so we're kind of hoping that some of you will be involved in this as well.
So the last little bit is we have here that our three main focuses of being here today is to inform, to invite, and to inspire. To inform is to share a little bit about what we learned. What we learned was that, and we sort of knew this, that kids communicate a lot different than we do. We struggle with how to communicate with our residents all the time. We have a newsletter, we have a Facebook page, we have all this kind of stuff. We do surveys, whatever that is. What they told us was, if it doesn't come directly to them, they don't think it's for them. If something comes to their house, it's for mom and dad. If the household gets invited to a meeting, it doesn't include them. Only when it's really directed to them. Because when you ask, you get, because we got a lot. So we learned that really quickly. Also, to inform, what else did we learn? We learned so many things about the fact that they are interested. We asked a lot about their perceptions of media and how they learn things and how they felt about things. Because one of the things that we heard was that some of the things like from Yarmouth with the ferry wasn't even mentioned in our communities. So we were really curious as to, are you reacting to what you're hearing reported about your community, or is it really at 17 years old that your #1 priority is to get back a ferry? So it was really interesting to us how they got influence and how they influenced. I'm a parent of a 19-year-old. I know the influence my 19-year-old has in my house on where I spend my money, what I buy, what I do. So they have a lot of power. They really do. So that was something that we knew, but it got, the skateboard shop was, one kid said, there's a skateboard park. There's tons of kids. We're hanging out there all the time. And he said, and then we drive to Halifax and go to the pro skate shop to buy our wheels. And it was like, somebody should, at least sell the stuff here. And it was kind of like, duh. Like, they have amazing ideas. So, and they're ripe for the asking. We really had to leave because they had to go to their next classes. Oh, yeah, another thing that really surprised us. Out of the 18, I would safely say that 14 of them work year-round. These are not just summer jobs. These are, when we said about that these jobs don't get posted, these are kids that work at corner stores. These are kids that, it was really, really, really amazing. And when we asked, what do you spend your money on? Thinking, I don't know, you don't know, I guess. But it was exactly what I would have spent my money on when I was that age. Going to the movies, going out to eat. So it was their spending money. It wasn't, well, one kid, it was really cool. He said, well, Mom makes me put 20% away for college. So I thought, what a good mom. But anyway, so it was really interesting to kind of hear their perspective. The invite portion of this is, as we said, sorry, I keep going back there, but I guess exact same thing is here. On June 7th, we are having our full-day session at the Argyler. We are inviting 2 reps from each council to come and join us at 11:30. It's going to be the tail end of the personality dimension session. We get to introduce councils to the young students. They get to chat. In the afternoon, we're going to be going over their job placements and how that went, and priorities and that lining up. The last part is, so we would very much like to see 2 of you there, hopefully. The inspire part is, what we learned was that their priorities are very important to them. They're a huge segment of our population. They're the population that we've said over and over again that we want to keep here. So I guess what we hope is that consideration be given when you look at a request for funding or grants from, we keep telling them over and over, you have such an influence that you don't even know exists. Like if an application comes into the municipality that had something to do with a youth project, that really would really impact them so much. So we're just hoping that that stays in your mind as you keep going forward. We know that you've set your priorities, and your priorities are all important priorities, but through this project, I guess it's kind of floated to the top what we've learned about what they really want. It's not all that different than what we want. We just want it kept top of mind. We hope to continue this project, follow these kids through, next year follow them in grade 12, and start another group of grade 11s. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Yeah. You know, some time ago, we had a session at the Salle Saint-Maurice, Père Maurice law of older people and youth. A group,
Yep.
older people on one side of the stage and the young on the other side of the stage. I think Norbert, you were there. And these. You were on the other side, yeah. And the youth, when we finished, were, is that what you really think of us? We didn't think, we thought, you know, you just didn't think much of us, because what you hear a lot of times, it was the young people this and the young people that. You said they were all surprised at what we were telling them, you know. I think LeBlanc.
Did the schools tell you how they take their, you know, like it's, I wonder how they chose
Well,
these individual ones, like.
At the Economic Forum, the kids that were there were part of a drama class. So what we said was, you can take drama and be at any academic level at school, right? It's kind of like an elective, I guess. So we said, if you want to pick a class like Oceans or whatever that is, that would be fine. So we didn't give them any. We said, like Scott said, we wanted a variety, we wanted and everything, and we did ask. Like one kid said, they think I'm at risk of leaving school, so they think it would be good for me to participate. Others were, you know, we had the best and the brightest, and we had the kids that love to talk. So we had a really, and in other schools, we had some really quiet kids that we had to draw out. Didn't take long, but we did.
That's good, yeah. Councillor LeBlanc.
Well, first off, I just want to say I think the idea is awesome. Whoever initially thought of this is quite a. Oh, Chris is taking credit for this.
Genius?
Maybe I'll take it back.
It really was all three pieces.
Yeah, well, all three of you, I think it's a great idea. Like when I ran for my campaign 6 months ago or whatnot, one thing I suggested that really bothered me, given the fact that I'm younger typically than most councillors would be, is seeing the youth go west. And the reason it bothers me the most is it's not my nephew or my sister's grandkid, it's my friends, it's the people I see. I take pride in the community, and so anyway, it's an issue that really bothers me. And I guess up until now, I kind of always thought of it that the way to, you know, and it is a good way to keep them, it's the obvious ways to get jobs around here, but I guess you guys are kind of attacking the problem before it becomes a problem, at least seeing why they're moving or why they're not moving individually or what their ideas are. I think it's a great way to, you know, see the problem from where it starts or where it begins, I guess, and kind of like you said, if there is anything in the end that you can do to help them, if it is a problem, getting advice on how to prepare for an interview or who to talk to become this type of professional, it's the only way, you know, is to get down there and see what their problems really are. So anyway, I'm just babbling on for no reason, but I guess I just want to say I think this is awesome. This is one of the best presentations I've seen. I think I'd really like to be there on June 7th, actually. I don't know if I'm jumping ahead of anyone else, but I'd really like to hear what these teenagers have to say.
You can probably certainly relate to.
Well, exactly. That's it. Like I'm kind of I push strongly, you know, stay here. But if you don't listen to why they're moving or why they have problems with the area or whatnot, you're never going to figure out well, I mean, like I said, it is a job issue, but there's not only that. So I guess kudos to you guys for thinking of this and doing this, taking the initiative.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you.
And you must be commended for this job. I think you're doing this like repeat what he says. I think it's a great job you're doing. It's something that
Thinking out
should.
of the box.
Yeah, yeah.
Out of the box.
Very
This type
good.
of stuff,
Very good.
This isn't a job.
Yeah,
This isn't.
this is the fun part.
This is the fun part.
Good. Thank you very much. Thank you for the presentation.
I think Mr. Warden, I think just on the presentation and on the people who had done it, like, they certainly have taken a lot of initiative on their own to kind of come up with it, and I think if anything, the youth will see that there are 3 very engaged employees of the municipality who care for the well-being of our youth. And whether that means that we can facilitate a job for that person or not, the fact that these 3, and perhaps more now, with council and others, are making an effort to engage the youth in that way. You know, I mean, how would you feel, right? I mean, to see that your community cares about you. So it's a really, I really would like to congratulate
You know, it's
staff on that.
Yeah,
This is very well done.
very good job. It's not all about jobs either. It's you know, we say there's not enough jobs, but we have people, we hire people from PEI, from Cape Breton to come down here to work, because you can't get enough here to work on some jobs. I'm thinking mostly about the lobster fishery, you know. So there are jobs, but I guess it's the type of job and the money or whatever. But it's not only. I think it's getting to be what do you call it? I can't think of the word. Like he said, a phenomenon. You know, it's people are just, it's a thing to do. You know, job or no job. A lot of people are moving, and it's not only youths. There are older people. I talked to one last week that's moving to, him and his family are moving to BC. You know, and this guy, I mean, he's 50-something years old. He's moving his family out to BC to work. And he has a job here.
Yeah.
But anyway, this is certainly a good project, and it's good to have our staff, like you say, it makes council look good, makes us look good to have staff like that working for us, and it's good for us.
Mr. Warden, I think if we're going to make, and I think this is exactly the type of things we should be talking about at the council level with respect to all the other topics we could be talking about.
Yes.
This is clearly one of the identified strategic issues that I think we'll be focusing more in the coming months and years. But one of the things that might be a difference maker for the youth of our community, well, first of all, we have to listen to them, which was, I think, what staff clearly did. Didn't make assumptions about what they wanted, actually went out and actually engaged that. But it's also the fact that the difference maker between people that want to stay and people that want to go might be the pride of place.
Yeah.
And you can't compete. You can't compete with the salaries that are occurring now with some of the oil jobs out west.
Mm-hmm.
You can't compete with money, but can you compete in another way? Is
Yeah.
there something else
That's right.
that brings you home? And you know, we can create that, or we can ask.
Yeah.
And I think that's what this group did. They asked, and I think it's the right thing to do.
Yeah, yeah. And it's, those stories are not positive, you know. These people that are out west, I heard one the other day that there's a couple from the Pubnico area that have moved out there. They were both working. He got laid off because there was, the roads where he was driving the truck were so bad that they couldn't keep him on anymore. They couldn't drive him, so he's laid off. He hasn't sold his house in Pubnico. He's got big payments here. They're paying for him, trying to pay for a rental out there, and you know, things are just not working. He can't afford to come back, can't afford to stay, and you know, so there are those stories too. It's not all positive. Anyway, we don't want to dwell on the negative. Okay, next item is business arising from the minutes. It's a notice of surplus property, West Pubnico, Nova Scotia Liquor Commission property. Mr. CAO.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. I've asked John Sullivan, our Public Works Director, to assist the meeting in case there were questions around this item. some of the information, unfortunately, that we received on this particular decision came in a little late, so I apologize for some of the information not coming in our regular timely basis. Also, I think some of you may have experienced our website going down, so that probably kind of exacerbated the problem a little bit. I'll start by saying that the request for decision is fairly comprehensive. This is not the first time we've talked about this. We certainly raised this as a potential item for council, as the surplus building in West Pubnico, I guess fondly known as the Nova Scotia Liquor Commission building, former, on Abbots Harbour Road. So this property is provincially owned, and the provincial real estate services has a policy that they offer it internally, provincially first, and then municipally second before it goes to market. And so this particular asset could certainly has been brought to our attention as a potential asset that the municipality may or may not be interested in. We try to get as much information as possible to back that particular item. First things first, we'll start with the price. They've listed the price at $125,000. They did an appraisal of the property, and I think the appraisal came in at $20 a square foot. And of course, if you tried to build a property, that's not what you would, that's not what it would cost, obviously. But we are dealing with a building that has been there for a bit. It is a fairly large property, 6,000 square feet, including paving and site work. The price of $125,000 clearly would just be purchased. It wouldn't be a purchase as is. There would be remediation done for the what was identified as asbestos in the building. So all of the asbestos would be removed prior to it being sold. So the price includes the restoration, or I guess removal, of asbestos. Currently the structure is tax exempt. We do get a grant in lieu of taxes for that property at the moment. Of course, if we were to take ownership, council was to take ownership, there wouldn't be any taxes. If it went to market, there would be, assuming that the property would be owned by a commercial or residential, for commercial or residential purpose. So we've identified certain benefits of purchase and drawbacks. I think, seeing as this is not the first time it's been mentioned, it really boils down to whether council feels that there is a purpose for the building, a municipal purpose for the building, and whether or not it wishes to entertain ownership at this time. The recommendation did not recommend purchase versus not. The recommendation states that the price is reasonable considering the assessed value and the cost to construct. However, we should have a clear idea of purpose for the property. If it goes to market, it could always go to market. You could choose to say no at this time and could actually purchase it on market when it came to market. So the province has given us a bit of not a deadline, but they've said that they would like to list it as soon as possible, so they'd like us to decide or get out of the way. One of the options I think that you have here as council is to delay a decision and ask them to extend for a period of time, if you wished more time, or if you wished to engage the community a bit further. I think that engaging the community is typically the first thing you do, and then you consider purchasing. This is they've kind of put the cart in front of the horse in some way on this particular item. So I guess the information is in front of you, and if there are any questions, I'll certainly, myself and John, do our best to answer them as they come along.
I guess, if we can identify a use for this, not just a use just so we can purchase it, but something that's used and go into the community. You never know what you're going to get. You may get somebody that could give us some real good ideas of what it could be used for. Councillor LeBlanc?
First, I'd like just a statement. I think we should request an extension on the deadline. Just, it kind of came up quick, and if I had time to think, I'd be more comfortable. Secondly, a question for Mr. CEO. In regards to flipping the property, would there be an issue, or do we know if there's an issue if, let's say, I just brainstorm a potential client to use it, maybe someone who has a business elsewhere who we could attract in the municipality. Could we acquire the property and flip it at a reasonable cost to make it more appealing to maybe someone we think could use the building and benefit from it? Or is that sort of a conflict in some sort?
The MGA is fairly clear around how we flip. Well, I shouldn't say flip, but sell property.
Okay.
I guess the first part of the answer is yes, you can flip a property. However, you have to do it for as close to market value as possible.
I was wondering.
And especially unless it's for a nonprofit purpose that is directly related to the municipality. So let's say it was a fire department. I mean, it's a bad example, but if a fire department came in, you could, in theory, sell that property for less than fair value because they're actually providing a municipal service. If it was commercial, it would be difficult to do, especially in light of the fact that we have an assessment that says 125. So it would be fairly difficult to sell that property for substantially less than that amount.
Oh, so the assessment says 125.
Sorry, appraisal.
Appraisal.
The assessment's actually much higher, but the appraisal is probably a much more accurate number.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just the reason I'm asking, just even off the top of my head, I can think of some residents of the municipality of Argyll who just recently opened up a new business elsewhere just due to the fact that they couldn't find anything locally, and I was just thinking along the lines of that. But it does sound, it might not be in our best interest. Just it wouldn't be enticing to them if we have to sell it for market value, or if the province is going to sell it for market value. It makes no difference.
And one thing probably we should be thinking of too is, there's maybe other properties out there, private sales that are looking to sell commercial properties that, and then if we start competing with the...
Yeah, we're just deterring them, discouraging them.
But there's no other building like that one, of course.
I would like to just, and I think Councillor Donaldson was pushing his button.
Yeah.
But I just saw your finger actually go.
There's two others also.
Finger works very well.
Two others also that want to speak.
Okay, I just on the issue of the purchase or flipping the property, the council would have another option, and the option would be to lease, and so it could own the property and lease the property to as an incubator, as an incubator mall, right? That is an option available to the municipality. So
that way, there's no tax revenue, is there?
It would, you would, well, I guess as the leaseor, you would set a rate,
right? And
so the rate you would factor in whatever your costs.
I get.
Yeah. So you would get revenue in another fashion.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry. So I just wanted to clarify that before.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, Councillor Donaldson.
Yeah, my feeling is if we don't have a specific use for the property, we shouldn't stand in the way of some private person, company that may be interested in looking at that building or is already looking at that building, waiting for it to come on sale. If nothing happens in the interim, like in the future, maybe we could look at it. If we have something, we might be able to use it, but I wouldn't want us just to take it for the sake of taking it, because we never took none of the schools when they were available. The credit union building in Argyll was 3 or 4 years old. That was a beautiful brand new building. We didn't show no interest in that. So, and since then it's been sold. I believe it's going to be made into apartments. And so I don't think we should stand in the way unless we got a real reason for that building. I think we should just walk away. That's my opinion.
Thank you. Councillor Surratt.
I guess on Councillor Donaldson's, what he just said, I kind of agree with that. I think we have enough priorities on our list. If we're looking at the budget items we've got coming up, we have the YMCA, we have the, whether it be the Mariner Center or things we want to do in our own municipality. There's enough ask out there without us going into the, purchasing of buildings, and that some other people might be, some other business or other people might we might stand in the way to purchase it. That I think we have enough on our plate, and leave that be for the time being.
Thank you. Councillor Muise?
I'm just wondering, I know we had mentioned that maybe the library could go there. We don't own the library building that it's in now, but there's a cost to us there. And I'm just wondering that if we were to purchase that and move the library there, I mean, we're spending money to buy it, but then we wouldn't have the rent that we pay there. Would it cost us more to have it there than what we have now? Mind you, you probably have to do quite a bit of renovations there in order to accommodate that type of well, I say business, but organization. Another thing too is, how old is that building? Are we getting ourselves into a building that all of a sudden we're going to end up with a whole bunch of repairs? I mean, I guess referring to Domtex, and I mean, we've got that, and we're kind of in a bind now with that, and I don't think that we should get ourselves in a situation, that type of situation again with another building. Now, I don't know. I know there's asbestos in there that they're going to remove, whoever. So it tells me if there's asbestos in there, it's not a very new building. They haven't been putting asbestos. 30 some odd years, is that it?
35 years.
So it's not a real old building then, as far as, but I was just wondering about the cost. Could we, if we were to purchase that, and again, we don't know that we'd be able to have other uses, could we rent places out? Could we at least get some kind of an income from it? And I think these are all things that we should be looking at before we make a decision. Make sure that we're getting ourselves into something that, not getting ourselves into a situation where we're going to regret what we did in 5 years' time. But and I was thinking the same comments that Richard Donaldson had just said. I mean, if we buy it and we want to get rid of it, it's harder for us to get rid of it than what it is for someone to get it now. If they want it, I guess. So that's all I had to say.
Thank you. Yeah, I kind of agree with that. Councillor Burke?
I just want to say my point of view. I think we should just walk away from this. I don't think that we should be going purchasing buildings. We have enough to take care of as it is. And sorry, Danny, but I don't think that the library should be put there because it's not centralized. We're going to start centralizing more things to get more people at different areas. Everything's going towards there. It's not that I don't like, I work over in West Pubnico, it's not that. It's just I think we should make things more centralized where people are more access to it. A variety of different communities. It's my opinion.
Thank you. So, with that, do we want to tell them that we're not interested and to go ahead and put it for sale, or what is council wish?
You need a motion?
I think I had recommended a motion, not that you typically would need a motion to say no, but I think the clarity might be important in this case, that you've considered it and said no, and then we can tell them officially. So a motion would be not inappropriate.
Councillor LeBlanc?
Given the fact that it's not a priority and just judging by the consensus, I'll make the motion that we respectfully tell them that we will politely decline their offer and that it can go up for sale publicly.
I'll second that.
Okay. You've heard the motion. Any more discussion, or all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Thank you.
I don't think, yeah. you don't need all that wording in the motion. We don't need to tell them that they can put it for sale.
Right, that's, yeah, we'll just, well, the motion will at least indicate to them that we've denied the request.
That's right.
And that they can move forward. Now, that doesn't mean, from my indication, doesn't mean that if this thing, I guess from council's perspective,
Yeah.
what we'll do is, if a year goes by, it's gone to market, it's still for sale, and something has changed,
Well, yes.
certainly,
Of course.
I think the motion suggests
At
to
this
put it
time.
for sale now, but it doesn't mean it's never gonna come back to council for consideration, just,
Yeah,
that's just my understanding.
okay,
Okay.
perfect. Financial report, next item on the agenda.
There were two items on the.
Business arising from the
but I don't
minutes.
know. Yeah, the business
Did-
arising.
maybe-
It's not there, but it's on.
Okay, maybe you,
It has to
Oh,
do
yes,
with
the maps. Yeah.
boundaries, but I don't know.
Work is still ongoing on that. We have not completed all of the maps as of yet. So that will probably, that will come in at the earliest in the May meetings, although May meetings are typically dominated by budget. But I think what I could do for council is distribute what we have. And so you can get I guess a sneak peek, a trailer version of the maps, a teaser. I guess it would be a teaser. So we can do that. Actually, we can do that this week because we have some of them completed.
Yeah, let's keep on.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
I'll make sure that we
I
get
don't
that
have
done.
that on my, is that on the paper,
Yeah, it was.
on the hard copy?
No, it's on the, did you refresh?
Yeah, I did. Business arising from the minute?
Yeah, it says two.
That's in 2 pages.
No. Nothing
You've
here.
got an old iPad.
We have an old iPad, yep. Financial report. That's for you, Alain, when you're ready.
I'm going to do you a favor and ask Marcia to do the report. I can hear the sigh of relief.
Lovely.
Lovely.
Sigh of relief.
All right, so you guys saw the financial report, I'm hoping, so as, you know, it's presented as of March 31st, which is year end, and we're showing a $207,000 surplus. Now, that is included with, and Alan will talk more about this later, an additional 150 that was added as a transfer to the reserve. So in reality, our surplus at the end of March 31st was $357,177. Some of the big points, some of the big reasons, I won't go through the whole budget. Some of the bigger items that stick out were this year, the deed transfer tax again was up this year. So there was a $25,000 surplus, more than anticipated. Federal government, conditional transfers from federal government, you're gonna see there's $76,000 in savings. However, most of that goes against the expenses that you see big negative amounts there. And like one of them was housing and RDA, which is the Argyle Economic Plan. So a lot of that, we show the revenue, but we show the expenses. So that basically 76,000 and 80-something thousand was taken in expenses, which kind of offsets both of them. So like I said, community tourism, there was the best practices mission this year that was that had taken place. However, we got funding from the government for that. Another project that we anticipated supposedly all taking, you know, we were gonna take the rap for it, was the Glenwood Park project.
Yes.
But we ended up getting $19,000 from a co-op. So that was more revenue than anticipated. We anticipated on covering all the costs. Recreation has a bit of surplus there. Basically, a lot of it was because of the physical activity coordinator position. There was a time there that there was nobody in that position, so there was savings on there. Plus some of the programs that, or projects that she was hoping to get done in the recreation department, they didn't all unfortunately get done this year. The JE, we had budgeted for the Jeux d'Acadie, which basically we didn't need. So that was a savings there. Doctor recruitment, we see a $45,000 savings there, which is basically, unfortunately, we didn't sign as many doctors as we were hoping for. Solid waste, we have a big surplus there due to we anticipated having way more costs than was initially used.
One of the reasons for that is because we've reduced our landfill, what goes into landfill. Tipping fees would be less, or part of that, or?
Tipping fees were less being disposed.
Yeah, that's what I mean, yeah.
Disposal levels have reduced.
We use a fair amount.
Lower than we anticipated.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another savings was in property inspection for the time that the position was vacant before the new director came on.
Yes.
So the salary was,
So we're paying the guy that came in,
we started, yeah.
the replacement.
Rumor has it, yeah.
I wasn't aware of this.
And, more of the savings is basically just in administration, just, being taking care of what we're spending, and, even counselor at the time that there was District 5, that there was no one, that's the savings. So all the little bits together has,
Yes.
So is there any questions?
No, looks good to me.
You're gonna pass it to me?
Mm.
If that's okay with council. Thank you very much, Marcia. I just want to talk about a couple of things. The surplus. First of all, the surplus is unaudited. There are adjustments to be made. I anticipate that all the revenues have been recorded, so any sort of adjustments that come from an audit, that come from an audited analysis of our books will likely reduce that surplus, not to a considerable amount.
No.
I'm talking, between, my estimate, and this is pure speculation at this point, but between, $5,000 and $25,000. So the surplus is fairly considerable, and we fully intend on applying some of that in next year's budget, because next year's budget is showing some very very interesting trends, not necessarily positive. I have in the line item here, in the surplus assessment, there's a line item, if I can get to the right page, that indicates a transfer to the operating reserve. Typically, we had budgeted approximately $40,000 be transferred to the reserve for future initiatives. What I'm suggesting is that transfer be increased this year based on the surplus. That amount is at the discretion of council. I'm recommending that at least $150,000 of the surplus be applied to the reserve. And basically, how that works is, it's not from the municipality of Argyle's perspective as an organization, it doesn't really change anything. You're just basically taking money out of your operating bank account and putting it in another operating bank account. It's like taking out of one pocket and putting it in the other. But in a non-consolidated, or if you're looking at the funds, it will actually show as an expense in the operating fund and a revenue in the operating reserve. Okay, the intent, basically how that works is it comes out as an expense in the current year, and then shows as a revenue in the future year. So what you're basically doing is saying, okay, part of this surplus we're actually putting aside into the reserve, and then we're going to pull it back in next year because we have initiatives that we feel that we don't want to rate a second time. Some of these, I mean, the surplus belongs to the residents. So rather than apply the rate next year on that, using the reserve to actually perform that service is the purpose of actually transferring the 150. Now, council could also make a motion to transfer an additional amount to the reserve or a separate amount to the capital reserve, understanding that if you do a transfer to the capital reserve, that can only be used for capital purposes. And so that's entirely to your discretion. From my perspective, I've recommended a 150. It can be larger. There is no requirement for us to leave that surplus in the operations. The operations equity or retained earnings is sufficient in the regular operating fund. So if you wish to push more into the reserve to use next year or in future years, that's entirely up to you, and I would not discourage that. I just suggested 150 in this instance.
Okay.
Richard.
Yes, Councillor Surratt.
I guess putting into the capital reserve wouldn't serve the purpose with some of the stuff that's coming up next year, Mr. CAO, from what you're suggesting, because like you said, that can only be used for capital projects. So in other words, if that 150 or whatever council decides, if we put that in the reserve, that can be taken out at any particular time to use on, whether it be the Mariner Center, it be somebody for the Redwood Cup or something like that, if that was the choice of council.
It gives you far more flexibility to put it in the operating reserve.
That's
because
what I wanted to know.
You can apply that to capital projects if you wish.
If you wish.
Yes.
Now, if you put it in your capital reserve, you have to have ministerial approval to remove or no?
You have to, when you remove in excess of $100,000, you require permission from the minister.
Yeah.
Typically, that doesn't apply to projects when you have projects that have already been approved by the minister.
Yes, right.
But if you pull out 100,000 or more, you require permission.
Okay.
Mr. Donaldson. Mr. Donaldson.
So, yes.
So the remainder of the surplus, most of my questions have already been answered. Will the remainder go more than likely into the operating reserve, or will it go into the capital reserve?
The remainder over and above what I'm suggesting?
Yeah.
It would stay in the operations fund, which means
Not
that
in the reserve.
it wouldn't go into the reserve. From my perspective, if you want to put more in the reserve, I would suggest that that's what you do rather than leave it in the operations. Only because the operations equity or retained earnings surplus, I guess, is sufficient to manage the cash flow of the municipality at this time. So if you want to push more over to the reserve, that might be a wise decision for you.
So why, like we've always put into the capital reserve for as many years as I can remember, is there a particular reason you're not suggesting any go into that reserve this year?
I'm not I guess what I'm not suggesting is an additional amount. Every year we budget $120,000 to go to the capital reserve.
Okay.
The two schools of thought there. I guess from my perspective, you got a little bit more flexibility.
It goes before you even have a surplus. It's there.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
so the you could transfer more for capital. Some, and I may, this at the risk of boring you with accounting, there are some organizations, very few in the municipality, that actually rate for their amortization. And what that means is that every year they have depreciation on their assets. Now we have that recorded, not more than 3 years ago that started to be actually physically recorded in your books. And that was typically $250,000 to $280,000 a year, depending, maybe sometimes into 300s after big projects were done. So some organizations actually rate for that amount every year, which means that the tax rate includes the payment of that amortization. And the logic is, when that asset is done, when its life is over, you need to pay for it somehow to replace it. So we have not rated for the entire amortization expense yet. What we've rated for is approximately $120,000 to $160,000 being transferred into reserves for future use. So we have not rated, and many rural municipalities do not rate for amortization. And so I don't want to get like theoretical in terms of whether that's appropriate or not, but the concept is that by the time that you have to replace it, it's going to cost you that much to replace, so you should be collecting that now. We do that, but probably at 50% of what the amortization is. So my theory is that if you're going to replace an asset, you're likely going to get 2/3 funding. You're not going to pay for 100%, or at least that's been our philosophy. Because but there are times when but the other side of the coin is if you replace an asset 20 years from now, how much is it going to cost? And it's going to cost a lot more than what you paid for 20 years before. So there's schools of thought there, but we do plan for the future, just not at the same rate as the depreciation. And that seems kind of a nerdy accounting, but I think it's fair to share that with you, because just to give you a concept of what we're actually rating for.
If you put money aside, if you put money in reserves for that purpose, it still goes as a surplus. It's still in the books as a surplus, right?
On your audited financial statements, you could transfer $1 million if you had it from one account to another, and it wouldn't show as an expense or a revenue in any of the accounts, because basically all you're doing is taking from one pocket and putting it into another.
Yeah.
So from your audited big picture perspective, the movement of money changes nothing. From your operational budget and the way that you budget for tax rates, it makes a difference, because you're actually using that money to offset as revenue. You're using it as revenue to pay for certain services that you'll be providing.
Yeah.
So that's really what it is. And I mean, seriously, I've put in $150,000. You could put more. And if you wish, you could also put a portion of it into capital. Because we always have capital projects, and so I can think of tennis courts. I can think of all the other capital projects that we're contemplating. Glenwood Park would have been an example where we could have taken the money out of the capital reserve to pay for that. So I have 150. The surplus, I'm fairly confident, will be in the 300,000 range. So it is half of what the surplus was this year.
Are you looking for a motion?
Yes.
Yeah.
I so move.
For 150?
150.
Okay.
I'll second it.
To go into
Moved and seconded.
operationals.
Councillor Surratt,
Yes, I didn't hear anything from our CAO on this, and maybe it's not your job to bring that up, but the $357,177 could also be used to lower our tax rate. Could that not be done so with that?
Yeah, yes, and that was a notice of motion that you had suggested at the last meeting. If you're going to do that, there is, the way to do it would be to transfer it into reserve and then bring it in as revenue to offset. So if you're, because if you're going to reduce your tax rate, you're going to reduce your revenues. So you have to either slash your costs or add a revenue.
Yeah.
Right, and
Which
so I
would
think
be-
your intent was, okay, let's take the surplus and actually reduce the taxes, one-time tax.
One-time tax, if it was allowed, or
Yeah.
it could be done, or,
And I think we kind of alluded to the fact that we couldn't do that, and we can.
Yeah,
we
if
have-
the
we've
MGA
since-
does-
Well, we've since confirmed it, that the MGA won't allow you
Okay,
to
yeah.
do it in the past, but you
Yeah.
can apply that reduction to the future.
yeah,
So you
Right.
could reduce the rate next year.
next year,
To achieve the same objective.
objective, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So that surplus could be used in that fashion, in theory.
Thank you.
Okay. So we have a motion on the floor. All of those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried. That was your second part, no. Yeah, second part of 5. That's what was, 5A was a transfer?
Yes.
To reserve, yeah. Okay, so we're going into other business. And for decision, A, exemption from tax requests, Amirault Chapel.
We have to approve the financial statements.
Yes,
Accept.
you have,
Accept.
accept or approve?
I think it's accept.
We only approve the audited, or,
Yes, sir.
yeah. Yeah, we'll entertain a motion to accept the financial report.
So move.
Moved by Donaldson, second by Councillor Muise. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Thank you. Okay, so your next item is the tax exemption, yes. I think that's pretty well the same as we have been doing, except this is not. But this is owned by the community, of course, and it's not owned by the church or the diocese or anything, but.
Yes, this request came through Councillor Surratt.
Yeah,
Did you want to speak on?
okay.
The Festival de Barque, the group that has organized and made this little chapel, obviously it's for the community, and it's for where the first mass was said many years ago. And when they did receive a tax bill, they wondered if this could not be used as some other properties in our municipality are tax exempt, and they asked me if I could bring it up to council if it did fit into the MGA or our line, of taxation, if it could be, not wouldn't have any taxes.
Yeah.
And I guess this is what that staff has brought up, that it does fit the tax exemption. So I would like to make a motion that, as per the information you've had, that this property be tax exempt,
So add that to our list.
to our tax exemption list, yes. It is a non-profit organization.
I think you said when they got the tax bill assessment.
You said, thank you very much.
Because the tax bill, they didn't get one for last year, this is just this year you're talking about. This is new, yeah, okay. All right, just for clarification, that's all. Okay, we have a motion.
So on the motion, if you don't mind, this is just a little housekeeping. What we should be doing with bylaw 28 is we should be approving the list. We have not done so. We should be doing it on a more regular basis than we're doing. So the motion is fine, but
Yeah.
what I'd like to do is perhaps make a second motion to accept the list with the amendment, so that we have it in the books that we have accepted this list as amended.
As amended.
As
and the
amended
amend-
by Councillor Surratt.
Okay, so just a one motion then.
You can do that,
Yeah.
yes.
If you want to,
Yeah, that you can approve the list with the addition of, yeah.
yeah,
Sorry that I
is
wasn't.
that what you want to do?
exactly what I want to say, yeah.
What about the seconder?
I agree with it, have you got that?
Thank you.
Have we voted?
No.
No, I started to. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. The motion is carried. Tax relief of 2012 balances on inactive properties for 2013. 2 pages. Yeah, you're gonna talk on that or what? I guess it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, it's, I would recommend approval.
Yeah,
I'll make that motion.
yeah. Okay. A motion moved by Councillor LeBlanc and seconded by Councillor Burke to write off this $960.13 on these outstanding balances from unused properties, or I think it's, I'm not sure the wording is.
It's
Whatever.
inactive
Inactive,
properties.
yeah, okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried. The FANE, financial request. This is, I guess, to help pay for the court case that they're going against the province with the electoral boundaries review. So I've had a chance to read this and see what it's about. I think, yeah, you have it in, yeah. So what is the council's wish on that? Any? Oh, okay, Councillor LeBlanc.
Although I completely disagree with the province decision on our provincial electoral boundaries, I kind of feel, given the stand that our NDP government has taken on this issue, it's sort of a losing battle at the moment. And I'm not really comfortable giving out $5,000 to a losing battle. So I'm not comfortable approving this with our current provincial government now. If there was a change in power in an upcoming election, maybe it'd be a different case. But I'm not comfortable with this amount.
Thank you. Councillor Surratt.
I guess where this is an ongoing situation where it's going to take many years to get into the court, and where we have an organization like the FANE that is certainly pushing to get the electoral boundaries back in line, hopefully. You know, we down the road, I can recall that when the government that was in power did not want to have any French school built, it took, if I may be a little bit off on the years, but it took close to 10 years before the FANE and these organizations pressed the government of the day to get these schools built. And if the councils and the federation and the other French units had not pushed for this, it would never have happened. So I guess no matter what government is there now, this is just the start of the long battle. And I think we have to look at what's going on, what's been done to the four, I just lost my train of thought. The 4 ridings that have been denied what was already given to them. I think it's going to be a long process, and the $5,000 is minimum to try to get the Acadians and the ridings back to where they should be. It'll be a long process, and I feel that this is a small chunk of change to get us back to move this forward, and that's my opinion anyhow. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yes, Councillor Donaldson.
Before I make a decision on this, I would like to have a legal opinion from a municipal lawyer from somewhere, Halifax. Are we allowed to spend our taxpayers' money on somebody else's court fight? It's not our fight. It's not us going to court. I just wondering if it's something, no matter who it is, what organization, are we allowed to spend money in that fashion? Whether the MGA has a policy on that, or if we need a legal opinion.
I'm fairly comfortable in saying that a contribution to La FANE would be considered a contribution to a nonprofit organization under Section 65AU of the Act. Yeah. So how they actually spend that money, clearly it's noted here, but it would be consistent with their mandate. It would be consistent with their mandate to protect and promote the French or Acadian language in the province. So I think from a legal perspective, we'd be okay, because we're really just simply providing a nonprofit organization with a grant.
Yeah.
So very low risk there. But your question might actually be in terms of the use of that money, and I think as long as the use of the money is consistent with the mandate of the organization, we're probably okay.
Yeah, it's like, okay, Liddell?
I guess, sorry to delay this longer than I need to, but in light of what you guys brought up, I guess I'm kind of second guessing my judgment. No, I'd like to make an informed decision, sorry. They're requesting a one-time only $5,000, am I correct?
This is what they're asking for now.
And have they
Next 5
racked up
years.
the legal fees already, or is this in preparation of a long battle?
They have been working on this for quite some time.
Yes, they had,
They
guaranteed.
had quite a bit of money.
And just for their sake, I do appreciate, this is a very serious matter. I guess I jumped the gun saying I don't approve of the $5,000. It's just, I guess I wasn't fully aware of the whole situation, I guess, and I'd like to be.
Okay.
I guess the question is directed to Mr. CEO. Exactly what is the $5,000 being used for is what I'm asking.
It will eventually be used for legal fees. Whether the legal fees are dispersed yet or not, I can't confirm. But they're certainly planning on taking this to court. I think that this would be a small portion that they'd collect. Most of the money that they would be able to collect on this would be from the federal government through like a Heritage Patrimoine
Right.
Canada. So there would be other funds that they would collect, surely the municipality of Clare and perhaps other neighbouring municipalities, Richemont, and perhaps even Barrington and
I think
Digby,
They were sent the same letter,
because they feel that
request.
the protection of
yeah.
the protection of Acadian writings actually allowed them to have the writings that they were comfortable and happy with. So
Yeah.
they may be motivated to do this, and were likely asked to participate.
I think they were.
So I can only say that prior to all of this occurring, prior to going to legal, certainly that the municipality of Argyll and the FANE had been operating lockstep in terms of actually promoting that the Acadian writing should be maintained and highlighting the importance of that. I think that should be considered here because we basically stood side by side with Chapelle and La FANE in that fight. And I think at the time we thought there's a possibility would exist that there would be a financial request coming.
Okay. Thank you for pointing that out. I wasn't aware of that also. I guess I jumped the gun a little quick. It's an extremely important matter, and I think preserving our language in our Acadian culture is important. Just 5,000 seemed a lot for me initially. Just wasn't exactly sure how it'd be spent, I guess. Just wanted to clarify.
Thank you. Councillor Muise?
Just a question as well. You alluded to, or CEO Muise, you alluded to the fact that we are, in response to Councillor Donaldson's question about it would be a grant that we give to a nonprofit organization, okay? Now, would this fall under the same grant applications that would have to have been here by April 15? And if not, where does this money, how do we, is this outside our policy, I guess is what I'm asking, when we do this, and we approve money, which is actually a grant, that hasn't been requested in the proper format? Where do we have an extra budget somewhere that handles this type of request?
To answer your first question, is it policy? It does not fit your grants to organizations policy definition as the policy is describing, along with other requests that we have since received, a couple of which on this agenda. Where does it fit? Budget deliberations will happen in the next 3 or 4 weeks. So if that's a priority of council, we'll have to make it fit. It doesn't fit in the policy as you describe.
Right.
So it would be a council's decision to support this would be outside of that
Yes.
definition.
And I'm not speaking against giving them money. That's not, but I'm just wondering if we have a special budget. I mean, if this had come to us after we've set our budget, do we have, where do we get the money to pay for, to donate or to contribute to this type of request?
Where the money would come from would be either that you would, first of all, if any of these kinds of decisions are made outside of the budget, they require a motion of council. So motion of council would execute the work, and the money would come from either an area that we saved in the budget somewhere else or from reserve.
Okay. Just wondering, because I wasn't sure how,
Yeah, because we can't generate any other
No.
revenue.
No.
That's it.
Exactly. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Surratt?
I was, what Councillor Muise just said, we could also have a budget line if we're planning. If it was council's direction to support this initiative, we could have a budget line put in our budget. That would be an option. This is going to be an ongoing thing that's going to be coming. It won't be settled next month, but it would have to be at council's discretion if that's what they want to have a line item there, and you could put that in your budget. That's for sure. That's an option. The only that kind of what I want to add on, coming back to Councillor LeBlanc, what he mentioned, I guess, was you probably took the wind out of my sails when you said about the Acadians and our culture. And I really feel we, our writing is French, it is Acadian. There are plenty of English people, as Councillor Dawson has certainly pointed out on many occasions too, where it be 50-50, 60-40, doesn't matter. It is certainly we have an Acadian heritage, and very proud of it. And I feel we should be looking at trying to keep our boundaries as they were. And that's all I have to add on there.
Thank you. So what is the wish of council with this request?
I would like to move that we need $5,000 as a budget line in our 2013-2014 budget to support this initiative. $5,000 for the fund.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Kathy Bork. Councillor Bork. Any more discussion or questions or comments? Not, we go to question, all those.
Richard is.
Yes?
I'll be voting against the motion because I can't see how this is a municipal responsibility in any way, shape, or form. I can understand the cultural, linguistic argument, but I don't think it's a council business. To me, it's just a road that's going to be going on for years and going to be asking for lots of money. So I'm going to vote against it because I just don't believe it's a municipal responsibility. And that would mean you'd have to change Queens, Lunenburg West, you'd have to change Shelburne, Barrington, you'd have to change Barrington, Argyle, and I just don't see it happening in the short term, and 5,000 is a very small amount of what will be asked for and probably contributed in the future if we make this a priority of council, and I don't believe it should be.
Thank you. We have a motion on the floor. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Western Regional Housing Authority, board vacancy. Yes, we had Monsieur Como from Pubnico has been on, and I guess they only allow him to stay on the board for, 3 terms, or I read it the other day, but whatever, but his term is up and we need to appoint somebody else. Does anybody have anybody in mind that you want to, you usually appoint somebody from the public? Yeah, yes.
I'd like to ask the CAO if any names have come up to, or could we advertise this? Like if I remember right, we have a lady from Plymouth that's involved in, I can't remember what it is that she's involved, but I remember, I know her name, Afia Albar. She's involved in something that, so anyhow, could we advertise this on the paper and ask for, unless a councillor wants to go on it, but we have done this prior to advertising on the Loftus Bay Shopper or the Vanguard.
We've never advertised yet, we usually appoint somebody, but I don't know, if anybody, what the wish of council, do you have anybody that you think would want to sit on that, or do you want to advertise?
I don't have nobody in mind right off my head.
There are many people out there on the,
The last three we had.
in our municipality that I'm sure would be interested in, if they were given a chance, maybe we should give them a chance and put their name in. You never know how many people you'd get. I'd like to make a motion that we advertise that this is available and see how many responses we get. I'd like to make a motion on that for the board.
Do you have a seconder? Second by Donaldson. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Advertise where, or?
The
motion-
usual.
The motion doesn't have to say that.
No.
Loftus Bay or?
We'll use, we'll use more than one option.
Yeah.
And what we'll also do, if council knows of anyone, then make reference to the fact that we're advertising and then that they
Yeah,
could
sure.
apply. We actually, just for information, don't have a policy on
No.
that. And so it might be, rather than bring that to council could make a policy and we could just execute your policy
Yeah.
on vacancy. So it's just
Yeah.
for the future.
Okay. I know that, I was gonna say that, I think the last three were from Pubnico, so we need, and my sister was on there, she stepped down and then adults took it over and, so, now I think they have day meetings, lunch meetings at noon or something usually they meet.
Not sure.
And I'm not sure how often, I don't think it's very often, it's quarterly, maybe 3 or 4 times a year, 3 times or,
Not sure.
anyway, we can find that out.
And it has to be a member of the public, I mean,
No?
you're not asking for, it's not a.
Well, if somebody wanted, we could appoint a counselor. Yeah, I would imagine. You have to,
Pardon me, you want it? Do you want it?
if you want it, you have to apply now.
Why, it's advertised. I think it would be interesting, that's all.
Yeah. No, I have no reason to believe that it can't be a counselor, I think it's,
Nope. The only stipulation they say is that they'd like to advise the policy of Province of Scotia to give fair consideration to women, Aboriginal people, visible minorities,
Yeah.
and persons with disabilities for all appointments. The
Yeah.
fact that the
Yeah.
person was not a counselor prior to is, well, that's a fact. I don't know what that means.
yeah,
That doesn't necessarily mean that a counselor cannot.
no, I don't think so.
Disability.
Visible minority. Nakile Home, member appointment also, we need somebody,
Also move that we nominate Audrey Potts
I'll second it.
to replace Shirley Johnson.
any more discussion or question?
Question.
Questions called for, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Recreation logo. I guess they want us to approve, or to choose, or to, well, it's, I read that yesterday, but
The,
final recreation, yeah.
Yeah, it's for approval.
Yes.
They had a committee that kind of worked it through and they had looked at many versions of logos, and so what you have there is their finished work.
I like it.
It's really quite impressive. And so
So-
they're looking for council's approval or
Whi-
endorsement of the logo.
Which one? What?
I think they all of them. It's
Oh.
all the same, it's just different colors, just showing
Yes.
how it might look under different,
Yeah.
but it's the
I'll
same.
make the motion that we accept the recreation municipal logo.
Seconded?
Moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. I like them, I don't like the black and white necessarily, but it's a nice logo.
That Alison Cutro
Yeah.
does some amazing work.
Yeah, like this one.
Yeah, exactly.
Amazing is right. Administrative Building Air Conditioning Unit. Mr. CAO.
I think all the information is available. Certainly, this is, we checked many times, it's broken.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
It has to be
That-
fixed.
That summer.
It's, we got some prices, and then we went to tender, and we had one bid. Garion Construction was the sole bidder. And actually, the price that they had, the price that they've submitted also includes a superior, or an improved ventilation option for our server room, which is badly needed. Because the computer equipment must be at a fairly decent temperature. So I certainly would recommend we proceed with the work as tendered.
I'll make the motion, we proceed with the work as tendered.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Motion is carried. Road name change, Petit, Chemin, Jacquard. Yes, I got a call from the deputy minister last week, Paul the Flesh. And he said, you fellows, council is looking at changing the name. I said, yes. I said, a local councillor has agreed to have the petitions done up and signed, and, well, he said, we're doing up the sign now, is it all right if we put up the sign before we get your letter of approval? He said, you expect any problem with that? I said, no, there certainly won't be a problem if you do it right. So I said, go ahead and put up the sign anytime. So the sign is being made, we haven't approved anything. I think, it probably could have been done with just a letter. Once they kind of owned up to that it was their mistake, I think somebody did.
That was the important part. They
Yeah.
finally owned up that it was their mistake and
Yeah.
the petition was not needed.
Needed, yeah. But anyway,
I can't
the
take
sign
credit.
is being changed.
I can't take credit for it. The evening when I went to run off the petition, the first house I stopped to, I had actually stopped for a different reason, and the resident there had already ran the petition around the road. She had already done it for me, so I can't take credit for doing that. It wasn't
Well, that's
me.
good. So that'll get done sooner than
Uh,
later.
I
Yeah.
certainly hope so.
Yeah. But we don't have the petition. Yeah, we have it.
We do.
We don't have, as far as I know, from my understanding, even from Emily Chris down from everything's been taken care of. The sign will be put up shortly. It's being printed.
That's what the deputy minister told me.
Exactly. I don't think we have any decision. We
I'll
can
give him a call and tell him we don't wait for the
Yeah.
letter.
Exactly.
All right. Road name change. No, we got that. Low flying authorization. Yarmouth International Air Experience. I think that's what we've done other times.
We have.
It's just a matter of signing, a letter, or, I think,
Yes.
sending them a letter that we agree to.
Do we need a motion for that?
Do.
Yes, yeah.
I so moved.
Second.
For the motion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Mariner Center financial request. They're looking for a little chunk of money here. What we used to give them so much a year, just to help them out, and so we could pay for ice, you know, for our people from Argyle. We haven't done that, I don't think, right, since we've paid on the capital.
We have given.
We haven't given on a regular basis, for sure.
Probably in the first year that I started here, perhaps the second, was the last payment, and a payment was about $20,000 a year. And what the $20,000 was to do was to repay a loan.
Yeah.
So what had happened was because I think the reasoning was because the town and we didn't actually own the building, so we couldn't borrow the money or give them a grant, so we had to actually give them a grant every year. And I think Councillor Donaldson
I thought it was 35.
It was 35, and then it moved to 20 after a certain amount of years.
Yeah,
it ended up
right.
being $750,000.
That wasn't on this arena, that was on the old arena.
No, that was to build a new one.
That was going towards, capital, we paid a lot towards capital.
Correct.
$750,000 we paid.
Right, but the only time I remember paying operating costs is like a yearly request once in a while, and I think Guy was here, but for years we didn't.
That's
But under the older, we used to pay under the old arena, a operational grant every year.
We did for years,
But
25,000 a year, I think.
With the new building, under their agreement, that we give a large sum of money for capital, not being in our municipality, we wouldn't be required to pay operational deficits or operational yearly costs. And, so, new councils, new ideas, new thoughts, and
Yeah, well,
why not ask?
yeah.
But I'm sticking to the original agreement.
Well, I'm not sure about the agreement. If the agreement stated that we wouldn't be paying, but, whatever, you could be right, though, I'm not arguing that point. Yes, Charette?
Mr. CAO, do you remember what we've given in the last 4 years as far as wasn't it 3,000, was it 3,000?
We have given, since I've been here, I believe we have budgeted for contributions, but not always made contributions. We do not budget an annual amount.
Okay, we don't, that's
We
not
rely on
an, that's what I
requests.
thought.
And one-time request of 25,000 was received, for operational deficits was received, I believe, 3 or 4 years ago. And we had agreed, council had agreed to give $8,000.
That's what it was.
Since that time, there has not been a contribution for operational deficits. I think the year after we gave $8,000, the Mariner Center didn't bother asking. And so this year is where we are. But I do want to clarify, the 20,000 I was referring to, or the 35,000, is in fact, as Councillor Donaldson suggested, it was for capital, not for operating.
Definitely.
Okay.
To finish, we have a process of applying for grants to organization. We have a policy, and if these people do want some money, they should do the same process as everybody else in our community does. They should fill an application and do a request. We are not here to support an organization that, as far as I'm concerned, thinks they can come and have a deficit of 98,000 and come and dump it on us. I know it's a valuable piece of not equipment, but a valuable piece of property that a lot of the people of Argyle use. But I don't feel that if we start supporting them with a $98,000 deficit, so next year, oh yeah, we're going to get money. So why don't we go 120,000 in the hole? I mean, I'm just saying that off the cuff, but if we start throwing money like this away, there is a process, there is a grant application. If they don't want to follow this, then listen, we have policies, and that's what they're here for. That's what I have to say on this.
Thank you. Anybody else have anything to say on this? Yeah.
I guess I'm kind of discouraged myself. yes, the Mariner Center is not in our municipality, but I like to think a big chunk of our residents do use it. I think it's a big part of our culture, actually. Not just hockey, I guess, but any activity on the ice. But hockey is an important thing around here. I hear it a lot. A lot of our residents are watching these Mariners game, are using the ice. Personally, I play hockey there. I'd like to give them. I wouldn't like to see the Mariner Center, not work, I guess is what I'm saying. But we do have a policy for the grants applications, and they didn't follow it, and that's what discourages me. I guess kind of like Councillor Surratt said, if they would have followed the rules, maybe it'd be a different story, but they didn't, and I guess if we start bending the rules for one person, it's not exactly fair to the others, so we have a policy, and I guess we should follow it. It's just a shame, because I think it's an important building, it's an important organization. That's all.
Thank you. Surratt?
I just would like to ask the CAO, did they send any kind of a financial statement of where they're at? Where's their money going? If we have some kind of a financial, because with a grant organization, usually we do request some kind of a financial, or don't we, CAO?
It's part of our application process.
Yes, yes.
I have been invited on a number of occasions to sit on the Mariners Center board, at least from an informational perspective. I think there's always been an attempt to engage Argyle in that decision-making process. I think what they're saying is, if you have any questions, Harold Richardson, the board chairperson, or the general manager would sit with council to kind of clarify that. There was no financial information attached to this request, but if I went back to board meeting minutes that they may have distributed, I may find that information.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
that's, I don't want to say that they've never given us financial information, because that would not be necessarily accurate,
Yeah.
but not with this letter.
So what is this, the wish of council? Richard?
Yeah, I don't know if I don't know if it should go into our little grants program. I mean, this is a very big operation, and there's a big financial statement there, I assume, like hundreds of thousands of dollars generate through there. And again, a large part of it, our residents pay to play. So, I mean, we generate a lot of the revenue that goes through that place. I've heard conflicting stories. I mean, it's rumor, I'm not gonna say it here, but I mean, it could be run more efficiently. How do we know? We don't even see the minutes from the board meetings. We don't see the financial statements. So just throwing figures at us to pay a third of a deficit that we're not 1% responsible for. Maybe, I mean, with a little more sales job, a little more openness, we might look at some kind of formula in the future, but just to keep throwing deficit figures at us and not knowing why and where they're coming from, I'm not comfortable with that. And I'll agree, a large percentage of the usage is from our municipality, but no way do they get that as a free service. That's a paid service. Anybody playing minor hockey, anybody playing recreational hockey, whatever reason you're using the Mariner Center, you're paying for. So is it bad management? Is it not enough funds? What is the problem? But I'm not gonna throw money at something until I have more information.
I'm not talking for or against or anything. I just think that, yes, maybe they could run it without a deficit, just to charge more to everybody for using it.
Or lay off people they don't need. There's two sides to every story.
People they don't need?
Maybe they're overstaffed, who knows?
Oh,
I don't
maybe,
know, you don't
yeah.
know, nobody knows.
Oh, I don't know, no.
But
Okay,
I've heard that suggestion,
is that right?
yes, so, but there, that's speculation hearsay.
Okay, thank you. Councillor LeBlanc?
Just my memories telling me, have they not requested in the past that one of us sit on their board of directors?
They have made that request of of the municipality. It has
Yeah.
been brought to,
Yeah,
it has been brought to the attention of council and to my attention. I know that they'd like to engage us more in terms of being informed at that board meeting.
And we didn't,
we deny because we're not
I don't recall.
an owner.
It seemed to me that it was not accepted. Now, I think there might have been some questions, I am going by memory as well, but there may have
Yeah.
been some questions around whether it's a voting member or non.
right, but even I mean, just to point out, they did try to engage us. Just pointing that out, I guess, because I thought I remembered reading that somewhere when I first.
I think so. I think
Yeah,
so.
okay. But Aldrich, you did raise a good point. If they just raise fees, I guess you
I
would
mean-
end up charging the correct people, and that would cancel out.
Well, I would think that they could, yeah, they discourage people from using
Yeah,
it too.
that's-
You know, I mean, I'm not saying that they should do that, but I think what, paying the deficit, or whoever pays the deficit or whatever, it's kind of subsidizing
It's a tough issue.
the ice for whoever uses it, I guess.
If I could just point out the fact that, you know, part of, I think, the trouble I'm hearing is the deficit funding and how it's a deficit that doesn't exist yet. It's actually a budgeted deficit moving forward. So you know, the municipality is plural, have always had certain difficulty around nonprofit organizations presenting that much of a substantial deficit and saying, can you help us? I think the first question the CAOs will ask is, what is it in your operation that you need to change in order to reduce that number? Perhaps if we
We have
think.
done that with other organizations.
Absolutely, we
lately.
did. We have, and
Yeah, in the recent past.
absolutely.
Sorry.
And so, from my perspective, I guess the question perhaps you should ask yourself is really, the decision is entirely in your court. You have absolutely no obligation to fund any sort of deficit, but perhaps the question you should be asking yourselves, and maybe in budget deliberations, is there an investment in the Mariner Center that makes sense from an operational standpoint, not as a percentage of deficit, not that we, for some random reason, pay 33% of a total budget
Yeah.
total deficit budget that hasn't occurred yet, but there might be a number that you're comfortable with, and perhaps you want to defer that into your budget discussions.
I would very much like that. Then we look at it the way we fund the YMCA, an annual grant. I mean, yeah, I like to have more structure behind it than what this is.
Yeah,
thrown at us.
yeah.
And
And I'm on that course.
anyway, so we can defer that into. I guess the only other action I would require of council if we're going to do that is, if you want a presentation, then please let me know and I can make that happen.
This is exactly what I was looking for.
You'd like to have a presentation?
Yeah, Harold, Richard, it's right here in the letter, and
Yeah, I
I
know.
guess we have a lot of questions. Can I'm not taking over the notes.
Nope, no, no.
Why don't we, we can certainly, I wouldn't be scared if somebody comes and sits here and tell them my point of view. You know, this is how I feel, and you guys are just throwing this at us. Okay, boys, tell us what you've got, give us some numbers, what are you doing, what's going on? Then we could ask questions. And maybe then, when we do our budget deliberation, we'd have more info and say, okay, we want it as a budget line, as a line item in our budget, that will give it on an operational standpoint. But I would certainly like to listen to these people and see what they have to say and present us why they are so much in the hole, what's the reason, what's going on.
Thank you. Councillor Bork?
Everything was said, I guess. I got skipped.
Okay. So is that what you're asking for, is
At
to,
our next meeting, because it'll be, as far as I'm concerned, if we could have it at our next meeting, therefore we're into budget, Mr. CAO, right?
We're planning on doing grants to organizations work as early as the 14th of May, which is the next meeting. So we can ask them to come in
Before that?
then or before.
Great.
So you feel good about it myself. Give them a chance.
Yep.
okay.
So defer and ask for a presentation.
Yeah. Okay. Correspondence and for information, we're at. Oh, no, I think we
No,
had
yeah,
another
yeah.
one. Committee. The committee,
I guess.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I had a request, and a fairly decent request, I think, to,
Me too.
Is that right? That's correct, you were included in the email. To prevent, such things happening like we've had with the Petit, Chemin, Jacquard in the recent, meetings here we've had. I had a request, and like I said, I think it's a good one, to have a committee form that would be consulted anytime a road name change, or anytime any serious road name change would be presented. Now, in the email I received suggesting that we form such a committee, there's names that are named, individuals throughout the municipality. I'm not going to name them because I don't see anywhere in the email, and I should have clarified this before coming, if these people have been consulted and have agreed. But either
Probably not.
Probably not, no. But either way,
I was saying email.
one issue, I guess, is what's going on is the people feel the French side to the signage is being overlooked sometimes, and that issues like we've had could be prevented. So I guess what I'm asking here is that maybe staff do a little bit of the legwork, which wouldn't be much, to just organize a quick committee, maybe consult with the gentleman who did originally send the email, to maybe form a small committee. Also, the committee would have to consist of a representative from the CAPEB. They've done actually work regarding this stuff in the past. They've actually, I think, taken photos of all the signs throughout our municipality to show how many of them have been misspelled in the past, and how there's an issue. So there has been an issue there, I guess, and they're just looking to prevent it in the future. And I think it's important. It would save us time in the end, I guess. And if there are representatives throughout the municipality that would agree to be on this committee, then I think it'd be great. There might not be any interest other than the people I've spoke with.
Yeah. Surratt?
I wish that Councillor Blanc, you could have shared that letter so we could have seen it prior to council. At least I didn't see a letter.
You didn't see that?
I didn't see any letter myself, no.
I guess it was copied to me, maybe.
Yeah.
No,
guess.
I wish we would have had that prior to that so we could have read on what was going on to give us more info. But I mean, I know you're saying that somebody is looking for this, but anyhow, it's just, wish I had seen that prior. I don't think it's a bad idea,
It
by the way.
doesn't matter who the request comes from.
No.
But I just wish we had a little more information, but I don't see a problem with
Basically,
that.
I'm sorry for not forwarding the email.
Yeah.
Basically, I gave you the information. It's just someone requesting that.
Okay.
Be, and just for info, Cyril Leblanc from Wedgeport
Yes.
agreed to be on it, and I think he'd be a great person to have on there, obviously.
Perfect.
So he's already agreed. So even if you have the committee doesn't have to be big. Personally, I don't feel comfortable on it. Without autocorrect on my iPad, I wouldn't be comfortable sending an email. But someone who does understand both or at least a group of people who understand both languages that we have on our signs, it'd be, I think, a useful committee.
Thank you. Danny? Muse.
I guess I'm a little confused about what this committee would do. Are we gonna?
Check
would
out signs.
Pardon me?
Go around, check out signs, and
Just
report.
drive around and
Report if there's any signs. Apparently, that's what they
Is
want.
that what I understand? That it would be a field trip to see all the signs in the municipality, make sure that they are French and English, and if they are French and English, if the French spelling is proper, is that basically
French
what?
and English, I guess the issues have been in French. I understood exactly like you're saying. I guess to make sure our signs currently are spelled correctly, and I guess if there was a new sign or a new road or anything new, it would also. I mean, I wouldn't imagine this committee would meet very often or whatnot, but I believe there's an interest, I guess, from people upset with and I mean, it is upsetting to see signs misspelled. I guess there's no need of that. So I guess if there is interest from individuals wanting to be in this committee, I think we should have it.
I'm not sure we need a committee. We only need one person, right?
Basically.
Go around, take pictures of signs that are misspelled or.
I minutes.
No, but we've done this, we've had this done a few years ago. The Chapelle did a lot of that work, and they've been working on these signs for a number of years now, and replacing some, and the bilingual signs and all this stuff, but.
Just on that, just
Yeah.
very quickly, many of those road signs have been changed.
Yeah.
Not all of them have been changed. We're awaiting patiently for the list of, here's what we gave you, here's what you changed, here's what's left. That's yet to come in from the department. The other side is if you have a road name change request, what we've done internally is that we said, well, if it's in a community that's francophone or that we would consider to add the Chemin as part of the road name. If in fact something comes in that's francophone, I think what might be useful is to, prior to it coming here for approval, that the Public Works would then call the Conseil acadien de Par-en-Bas and say, look, this is the name change. Get your best and brightest to look at it to make sure that it's spelled properly, so that when we make the recommendation, that we're confident that there's no errors that we've made or that we've taken from the community and not corrected. So, because sometimes those errors could come right from the community, and so that piece I think is also important, that we could do by policy internally.
Yeah.
That if there's a road name change that includes anything francophone, that it would have to go to Chapelle before coming here.
Oh, great.
Yeah, okay. Surratt,
You just said, CAO, just exactly what I was gonna say.
thank you. So, do we want to form a committee, or I don't know.
The risk of forming a community at this level is that it would be a committee of council. I don't know that you need that kind of complexity for this.
No.
So what you're probably looking for is an organization that has it as a mandate to do this, to lead. And the CAPEB is that organization, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
I mean, they do it, they've done it, and we have taken their lead on this issue. It's just the issue isn't resolved. So it's just an added layer of support for their efforts, because it has been a priority of theirs for
That's right.
many years.
Yeah.
Many years. And so we've had some success in the past 3 years, but this has been quite a long-standing
Yeah,
item for them.
But we've been changing names. We've had French names. Like you said, it's been going on for a long time, because when I was working with the department, we had French names on, maybe not on all the signs, but in certain communities.
not all by a long shot.
Oh,
Well,
no,
some of the roads you can't change the name itself.
No.
All we have to add is Chemin
That's right,
in front of, you know.
exactly. And I remember a lot of our roads were in
Yeah.
French and English.
Yeah,
And the department does have a policy
Mhm.
that guides them in terms of ensuring that there's bilingualism in the signs.
yeah,
It's just the spelling issues that might be problematic.
yeah, right. So what do we want to do with this? Like, I don't think, I'm not sure we should have a committee of council. I don't think we need that.
I believe we should leave it like it is, and it comes to the Public Works, and leave it to Public Works and its staff, and like our CEO said, by policy, if something comes up, and bring it up to them, and the CAPEB is very, I guess, CAPEB capable of putting the French name there, and that's the way it's been working well so far, and we keep it like that. If there is maybe the Councillor Blanc, if there is an urgency, or there's a bunch of names, you know, maybe, but usually we hear about it here at council if there is an issue.
The councillor hears,
Yeah, the council
usually, you know.
did with the Chemin de Jacquard.
Yeah, well, like I said, I guess I'm hearing from these residents that they feel there's an issue and they want to form a committee.
Well, let them form a committee.
Well, I guess they probably want a municipal representative on there.
Yeah, okay.
So, they asked me to
bring it up.
and I did. Personally, I think it's a good idea. If they feel that there's enough road names out there that are misspelled, I think that's an issue. Road names should be spelled correctly. It's not that hard. Like I said, maybe I'm not the correct person to do it, but I'm sure my phone can Google the correct spelling very quickly. It's not a big deal. But I think there should be, I brought it up because they asked me to, and I think someone should be looking at this. Now, I have a question.
Would you want to represent council on the committee?
Yes, I guess. I don't want to be the person signing off on the exact spelling, but yes, if they need a municipal representative. I know. But if they need a municipal representative there, I don't mind. It's not something that's too much of an issue.
Yeah.
You see, I should have taken the course we did know, right?
Yeah. Yes, yeah, right.
Mr. CEO, I remember 3 years ago, Capeb, I remember having a list given to us. And so was that their mandate of CAPEB to do this? Or they were just doing that as their organization want things to be changed in French and they were pushing for this?
It was one of their priorities.
One of their priorities, okay. I just want to know how that came about.
And
they're not mandated, it's just...
well, they can't change the names without the council
Okay, right.
deciding on or endorsing that to happen. So that's why there's that relationship.
I tell you what, if there's some people out there that want to work and help and Councillor LeBlanc is willing to go on that committee, I'll certainly second that if he wants to move it.
Move what?
Move that there's a committee be set up.
And who sets up the committee?
And,
Nobody moved yet, so.
well, if Councillor LeBlanc wants to move it, I am telling him that I will second that.
Personally, with discussing it with you guys, I'm kind of uncertain right now at the moment what we're exactly moving because I'm kind of getting conflicting information here. Maybe we should have a sit-down meeting before with CAPEB, with the residents who are looking to get this, and just to clarify what needs to be done. I believe that at first it was more so to deal with the existing issues, but as well as forthcoming issues, because I thought kind of the Petit Chemin de Jacquard incident stemmed this, meaning to prevent something like that from happening again, not so much the current issues. So maybe we should have a sit-down meeting, maybe even here, between all three parties interested, and then we can bring it up at the next meeting.
Very good.
So I guess maybe we can, before I make a motion, maybe I'll defer it to that.
Defer to that, table it.
Table it, sorry, till the next.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very good.
Yeah,
Fair enough.
good. All right, thank you. Next three items are for correspondence, just for information, is the FCM Green Municipal Fund Project Grant Agreement. Check is in the mail?
Check was received.
Received, okay.
Check was received before the end of March.
Okay, Department of Transportation, the Bourke Crescent speed limit sign, we got a letter on that too. And the Canadian Union of Postal Workers, letter of invitation. When is that meeting? May the 1st, tomorrow?
Tomorrow, I think.
Yeah, well, I have to send my regrets because I'm not gonna be there. I'm gonna be in the city, I'm going to Halifax.
It's probably gonna be the same type of meeting that Danny and I, just for your info, Danny and I went to Lake Vaughan. I was reading the letter and I talked to Alan Winters, and it's basically gonna be the same type of meeting as in Lake Vaughan, but they're trying to make it bigger at the rods, to get more people in. Yeah. Anyhow.
Yeah. Okay. Next item, financial requests. I think we've dealt with all of them.
We have.
Notice of motion. Does anybody have a notice of motion for future meeting?
If there isn't a notice of motion, I just wanted to point out a couple of things for council. Yes. Budget deliberations will start on the 14th of May. That's our scheduled regular council meeting. we will do our grants to organizations assessment on that day. You've all been distributed a spreadsheet that shows all the requests. If you would like, we can add a separate or a second email that takes all of these requests that did not have a grant application, so that you can consider them, whether you consider them as late applicants or ineligible or whatever, that'll be your call, okay? So we'll do that, and so that's on the 14th. Our regular business on the 14th will be reduced in terms of regular business. We do have to swear in as well on the 14th, Madame Albright, and so that will be the first business of the 14th to fill the seat. And also, what we're looking at proposing for budget meetings, typically we have 2 to 2.5 meetings on budget. The information should be ready, it's probably early next week, so you'll have some time to look at the budget, at least in a budget form, in a draft form before the 14th. The first discussion, we're looking at the 16th of May. So that's a Thursday, 16th of May, and that is the ARC meeting. So I've asked Jeanette to reschedule that meeting. And then so that's typically, so that's a special meeting just for budget on May 16th.
That would be a 6:30 meeting?
Yes, unless you have another suggestion, I'm good with anything there. It's typically, it's a longer meeting, typically, and it's just budget. And then we do have one more meeting that I would propose that we would schedule on the 21st of May, because we are intending on issuing bills on the last week of May. So we can't do that without rates being approved. And so that's the tentative schedule for budget meetings. The 21st, usually the second meeting, it's typically, if there are changes, the changes are brought back to you. And so we assess them again. And so typically what we do as well is we do not have the committee of the whole on the 28th, the last Tuesday of the month in May, just because
we have 3 meetings.
We usually try to cram in quite a few.
Yeah.
So I just wanted for you to pencil that in your schedule. That is 90% accurate, unless there's an issue with those dates.
Could you send an email out?
We will, yeah.
To that effect? So
Yeah.
sooner than later, so we can,
Yep, absolutely, absolutely.
So Warden, if I could. The 16th, would the council want to start? I know Kathy is, not only Kathy, but she, I'm not picking on you, Kathy, but you, by the time you got out of work, come here. I remember one time we had some soup and sandwiches and we started right onto it, but I don't know if that's, Kathy, I think you'll be able to make it here by, if council wished to go a little earlier. Would that 16 be quite a long meeting usually?
It could be.
That's the bigger, the longer one.
The concern I have is the earlier you start, the better, because
Just in case.
it gets late and people get tired. So
Yeah.
it's a lot of numbers.
5:30, start at 5:30.
Yes, I wouldn't mind.
5:30.
Oh, Lucy, if you're from
Put that
fishing.
in
or-
your email.
Yeah, I can make it work.
Yeah, you can make it work. Okay, 5:30.
So May 16th would be 5:30.
And if you don't mind, Mr. Warden, on the 21st, there is a Nova Scotia Power at Rods from 6:30 to 8:30, but I mean, I can cancel it on the 21st. But I had sent that I was going, but that,
Oh, yeah.
that is not an issue. I mean, I can cancel that. That's not a, that is not something that I have to go.
This is a meeting that we had last year at the
Yeah.
golf club.
I've gone to the last
Right.
3, they bring up issues and
Yeah.
it's not you don't have to go.
No,
So it's not an issue.
the staff, they go around and,
Yeah.
ask questions and
Explain.
tell you what.
So would you like me to reschedule that to the next day?
No, the 21st.
20,
If it's, everything is for the 21st.
21st is what day of the week?
Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Okay. Wednesday might be a problem for.
No, let's go to the 21st.
Okay.
Let's
Let's go to the 21st.
Yeah,
No.
yeah.
I'll send my-
Okay,
21st will be 6:30, just to be sure. That one won't be as long, right?
The only meeting that would be at 5:30 would be on the 16th of May.
Good, that's great.
16th, yeah, okay.
Sorry to drag this out.
Okay, we'll have to ask her to move that.
Change that meeting.
It's difficult to have council meetings on different dates because there's always something else.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all I had, sorry.
Okay,
21st.
good.
Okay, good.
Question period. Anybody has any questions? That's easy.
That was
Raise
easy.
their eyebrows.
Move we adjourn.
Motion on the floor to adjourn.
You don't vote on that.
Usually seconded though.
Usually seconded that, okay. A lot of people don't, but I think we usually do.